Hi and welcome to our channel. In this tutorial we're going to transform a vintage book page into a pretty art piece using Tombow brush pens as watercolors. I got this book from a local bookstore. He has like a last chance pile of books that he lets crafters go through, so I have a ton of books here to use for paper crafting. I have so many books. I feel like I've saved them from a certain doom. So I'm taking the markers and getting the ink ready, and I'm just using a plastic plate. Tombow has mixing palettes for this specific purpose, and I'll link everything in the description for you below. The Tombow brush markers are some of my favorites to use as watercolors, and the colors are really nice. These particular markers are acid-free, so if you want to use them for an art project, they shouldn't react with your paper, but just make sure that your paper is also acid-free. On old book pages though, you might get some surprises and the colors might change drastically, which could be a good thing. It's kind of fun to experiment. And if you don't have Tombows, you can use any kind of water-based marker. The Crayola Super Tips are good for this too. As you work with these, you'll find that the inks kind of stain the paper and soak in, way different from actual watercolors. So all I'm doing here is layering it in the color and then just kind of going back and forth and adding more color to make some areas a little bit darker here and there. And if you're interested in these exact markers, I'm using Tombow number 847623772, and I'll link those below. If you have a shop or like to sell at craft shows, these would be perfect to sell because you can just make a bunch of them and put them in a frame or sell them in bundles. People that make junk journals, they love to buy things like this for their inserts. Just be sure to let your customers know that the colors could possibly change over time. There's just so many ways to use vintage books to make extra money, and just reusing them and keeping them out of the landfills and trash is just a great feeling. Oh, and just be aware that if you are reselling something that is made from an old book, that you check to make sure that that book is in the public domain so that you don't violate any copyrights. And you can just Google that. Sometimes if I'm using a vintage book page that isn't quite vintagey looking enough, I'll coffee stain it. And we have a really great tutorial for making your own coffee stain paper, and I'll link that below. But this one's perfect. I just love the color. So all I'm doing here is just layering colors. And now I'm just going to go in and accent the tops of the flowers in light purple. And now for the next step, I'm going to go over the flowers just by the stems here and there and add some pretty gold leafing. And that just brings the piece to the next level. I've used this gold pen in so many tutorials that it's starting to run out. Fineliner also has a silver and bronze, so next time I put an order in, I'll make sure I get those in too. And now just a hint of shimmer to bring it all together. And I just think that looks so pretty and beautiful. Now after it's dried, I'm going to take my Fineliner and I'm going to go over all the petals and stems to bring it all together. And this part here, you don't want to make it too perfect because it's the imperfections that are going to give this piece like a whimsical and flowy kind of look, and that's exactly what I'm going for here. And that looks great. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you try this, please tag our Instagram so we can take a look. And we will be back with more ideas on how to use old books. Till next time, have a beautiful day.